It was supposed to be a smooth journey, private jet, champagne, and a quick meeting with city developers to sign off on another mega skyscraper. Alexander DuPont, one of the world's youngest billionaires, was no stranger to extravagant flights and elite boardrooms. But fate had other plans that morning. Somewhere over the rugged hills outside Ibadan, Nigeria, Alexander's jet suffered a sudden engine failure. The pilot's voice was calm, but the panic in the billionaire's chest was real. Seconds turned to eternity as the jet made an emergency landing in a vast, half-cleared field near a developing construction site. He staggered out, dazed and coughing, blood dripping from a shallow cut on his temple. His custom Italian suit was torn, and his polished leather shoes were coated in red clay. The nearby construction workers stopped in disbelief as the jet's smoke curled into the sky. Among them was Amaka Ibe, a fearless woman known for her strength and grit on the site. She dropped her shovel and sprinted toward the wreckage, her yellow hard hat clutched in her hand. The other workers hesitated. This was none of their business. But not Amaka. Alexander tried to speak, but collapsed. Amaka caught him just in time. She yelled for help, barking orders like a foreman twice her size. No one knew who he was yet. All she saw was a man who needed help. That moment would change both of their lives forever. Amaka laid the unconscious man gently on a stack of canvas sacks near the supply shed. Her co-workers gathered, whispering in Yoruba and Pidgin English. Who was this strange white man, crashing from the sky like a fallen spirit? "Someone get water," she commanded. She tore a piece of clean cloth from her extra work shirt, wet it, and dabbed the blood off his forehead. His skin was pale, his breath shallow, but alive. "Let's call an ambulance," one worker said, fumbling with a cheap phone. "Signal no day here." "No time," Amaka said. "We'll take him to Mama Ekin's shed. It's cooler there." As two men helped carry the billionaire, still unknown to them, Amaka walked alongside, her boots stomping confidently through the dust. She wasn't a nurse, but she was raised by one. Her late mother had taught her how to clean wounds, ease pain, and stay calm in crisis. They laid him under a makeshift awning made of tarps and bamboo. A breeze rustled nearby cassava leaves. Amaka dipped a cloth into a cold basin and cleaned his wounds with gentle strokes. Minutes passed before his eyes fluttered open. "You saved me," he croaked, confused, trying to sit up. "Lie still, Oga," she said with a soft laugh. "You came down from heaven like trouble." He blinked, trying to process her words, her accent, her face. "Where am I?" "Safe," she said. "For now. You crash-landed near our site. Lucky for you, I was around." He chuckled weakly. "What's your name?" "Amaka. And you?" He hesitated. "Alex." She didn't recognize him. No cameras, no headlines, no boardrooms. Just a man and a woman who saw no status, only humanity. That day, Alexander DuPont realized that sometimes the richest hearts wore no suits. The sun had dipped low, casting golden light across the hills. Alex sat propped up against a sack of grain, his strength slowly returning. Amaka handed him a bowl of warm yam porridge, thick with red palm oil and diced vegetables. He hesitated, unfamiliar with the dish. "Eat, Oga," she said with a teasing smile. "It won't kill you like that plane almost did." He gave a tired chuckle and took a bite. The spices caught him by surprise, but the flavor warmed him. It reminded him, unexpectedly, of comfort, something he hadn't felt in a long time. "How long was I out?" he asked. "About 2 hours," Amaka replied. "We called for help, but your people haven't come. No network here." Alex looked down at his phone. No signal, no Wi-Fi, no GPS. For once, he was truly off the grid. No assistants, no investors, no paparazzi, just him and her. He watched Amaka move around the shed, her hands steady, her words kind. She was respected, he could tell. The other workers deferred to her, yet she joked with them like family. She had a presence, a quiet power. "Why are you here?" he asked. "You're different." Amaka gave a half smile. "My father was a bricklayer. He died on site when I was 14. I took his place to feed my siblings. I've been building ever since." He was stunned. "That's noble." She shrugged. "It's life. Not everyone can fly jets." He smiled. "True. Not everyone can land one either." They laughed together, and for a moment, it was just two strangers finding warmth in unfamiliar company. He still hadn't told her who he really was, and she hadn't asked. But something was building, stronger than bricks, deeper than wealth. A connection, quiet but undeniable. That night, the clouds rolled in thick and gray, and the skies burst open. The downpour drummed on the tin roof of the workers' rest hut like an angry symphony. Inside, the small group huddled around a smoky kerosene lantern. Alex, still weak, was wrapped in a woven blanket that smelled faintly of wood smoke and soap. Amaka sat across from him, drying her braided hair with a faded towel. The flickering light danced across her skin, casting golden shadows. She looked radiant, though she'd never call herself that. "Your people still haven't shown," she said, sipping a hot cup of Zobo. Alex nodded. "They're probably panicking. But I'm not in a rush." She raised a brow. "You rich people always rush." He hesitated, then finally said, "Actually, I'm Alexander DuPont." The room fell still. Even the rain seemed to pause. "The billionaire?" Amaka blinked. He nodded, gently. "Yeah, that jet wasn't rented." The workers exchanged shocked glances. One of them nearly dropped his cup, but Amaka simply leaned back, expression unreadable. "Well, Alexander DuPont," she said slowly, "you still nearly died like the rest of us." The room erupted with laughter, easing the tension. "But why hide it?" she asked later, as they stood beneath the awning watching the rain. "I didn't know who I was here," he admitted. "But when you looked at me, I felt like a man, not a brand." Amaka smiled, her eyes soft. "You were just a man who needed help, and I was just a woman who wasn't going to walk away." Lightning flashed. Thunder followed. And there, under the storm, he reached out and gently touched her hand. For the first time in his life, Alexander felt grounded, not in skyscrapers or contracts, but in something simple, real, and beautiful. By sunrise, the rain had washed the earth clean. The site sparkled with dew, and the red soil smelled rich and alive. Amaka was already back to work, her hard hat secured, gloves pulled tight, lifting heavy cement blocks onto a wheelbarrow like it was just another Monday. She hadn't changed how she treated Alex, not even now that she knew he was worth billions. That morning, Alexander made a decision that startled everyone. He borrowed boots, rolled up his sleeves, and joined her. "You want to what?" Amaka asked, confused. "Help," he said. "I've never laid a brick in my life. Might as well learn." He pushed a wheelbarrow, wobbly at first, and received laughter from the crew. "Billionaire, one carry block," one worker shouted, cackling. But Alex didn't care. Sweat dripped down his brow, his white shirt stained with red earth. Amaka watched, trying not to smile too wide. His form was awful, his hands clumsy, but he was trying. For her, during their break, she showed him how to mix cement by feel, not numbers. "It's about rhythm," she said. "Same way you probably feel your money when it's flowing." He laughed. "You make construction sound poetic." "Because it is," she said. "We build things that last longer than people. Like memories." They sat side by side, drinking sachets of water, their arms dusted with grit and grime. "Do you ever dream of leaving all this?" he asked quietly. She looked out at the rising columns, half-built homes, and the workers laughing. "I used to," she admitted. "But maybe, if someone saw the worth in what we're building here, I wouldn't have to." He looked at her then, not as a billionaire, but as a man discovering something money had never bought him. Respect, purpose, love. 3 days had passed since the crash. Alexander had settled into a routine unlike anything he'd known. Mornings began with lifting bricks. Afternoons were spent in the sun with Amaka, learning to build things that didn't make stock prices rise. Evenings brought fireside chats, bowls of pepper soup, and stories from workers who'd never flown but dreamed of better tomorrows. But peace doesn't last forever. On the fourth morning, as Amaka and Alex were leveling foundation beams, the world he'd escaped from finally caught up with him. A convoy of black SUVs roared into the site, kicking up clouds of dust. Out stepped suited bodyguards, a frantic assistant, and his stone-faced personal secretary, Miriam. Behind them, a news van. "Sir, are you hurt? We've been searching everywhere." Miriam cried, nearly in tears. Alexander straightened, awkward in his muddy clothes, while Amaka stood silently beside him. "I'm fine," he said calmly. "I've been learning things." The reporters began snapping pictures. Microphones extended. "Billionaire rescued by construction worker." "DuPont's mystery woman." Amaka's face hardened. She wasn't used to lights or headlines. She turned to leave, but Alex stopped her. "Wait," he said, his voice louder than the noise around them. "This woman saved my life. Not just from the crash, but from the person I was before it." The reporters quieted. Alex looked into Amaka's eyes. "I don't want to be the man I was before. I want to stay connected. To you. To this." Amaka swallowed hard, eyes darting between the cameras and the man whose life had landed, literally, in her hands. She didn't know what came next, but she knew one thing. Everything had changed, and not even the world's attention could undo the bond forged in fire, mud, and truth. That night, the workers celebrated. Drums echoed through the hills, and laughter bounced off the walls of half-built homes. Fires crackled. Cassava was pounded. Someone even brought palm wine. But Amaka was quiet. She sat alone on the edge of the site, watching the flames flicker in the distance. Her fingers toyed with her calloused gloves. Behind her, the sounds of joy swirled, but in her chest was a storm. Alexander approached quietly, holding 2 steaming cups of spicy pepper tea. "I brought you something," he said, settling beside her. She accepted the cup with a nod. "Thank you. I meant every word today," he added. "About staying connected. About you." Amaka looked up, her eyes steady but clouded. "You come from a world I don't belong to, Alex." "You don't belong in a box either," he replied. "You lead with strength and heart. People follow you. You've built more than walls here. You've built a community." She smiled faintly. "And you? What will you do when you leave? Go back to glass towers and boardrooms?" He shook his head slowly. "I've been asking myself the same question." They sat in silence for a while, the stars glowing bright above the open sky. A soft breeze stirred the grass, and the scent of wood smoke danced in the air. "I've never felt more alive," Alex said quietly. "Not when I made my first billion. Not even on my jet. But here, with you." Amaka's heart fluttered, then sank. Because while he spoke of staying, she knew the world rarely lets men like him stay in places like this. She feared the moment he'd have to choose. And worse, the moment he wouldn't. Morning came too soon. A sleek black helicopter hovered over the hilltop, blades slicing the air. Alex stood by the clearing, duffel bag in hand, his once dusty clothes replaced with a clean shirt and dark jeans. He looked less like the billionaire from the magazines, but also less like the man who'd been pushing wheelbarrows days before. Amaka stood a few feet away, her arms folded, face unreadable. "You're really leaving?" she asked. Alex took a step closer. "I have meetings in Dubai, contracts to review. The media's gone wild since the story broke." She nodded slowly. "Of course, you belong to the world." "I don't want to," he said. "Not like I used to." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a slim black envelope. "This is for you." Amaka hesitated before taking it. Inside was a formal offer from DuPont Global Infrastructure to fund the full expansion of the construction site. Not just buildings, but schools, clinics, solar power grids. Her eyes widened. "Why?" she whispered. "Because I believe in what you're building," he said. "And because even if I have to leave for now, this is one way to stay with you." She stared at him, heart twisting. It was the biggest opportunity of her life, yet it felt like a goodbye. "When will I see you again?" she asked, finally. Alex paused, his expression soft. "I don't know, but I'll come back. If you'll still want me when I do." The wind from the helicopter stirred dust around them. Alex stepped forward and gently placed a kiss on her forehead. Then he turned, climbed into the chopper, and disappeared into the sky he had once fallen from. Amaka stood still, envelope in hand, heart wide open. Weeks passed. The construction site had transformed. New cement bags arrived in bulk. Solar panels gleamed on rooftops. A temporary health post stood where the old canteen once leaned. Amaka worked harder than ever, but her heart often drifted to a man far away. Alexander kept his promise, from a distance. Every week, she received a letter. Not emails, not texts, handwritten letters, flown in by courier. "I miss the smell of red earth more than the scent of polished marble," he once wrote. "Your laughter haunts boardroom silence. I see your strength in every woman I pass, and none match it." Amaka responded. She wasn't poetic like him, but her words were honest. "We finished the school today. Your money helped, but your belief did more. The workers keep asking when the billionaire with 2 left hands is returning." He sent photos of his speeches at conferences, and she sent drawings of the children now attending free classes near the site. Still, something lingered in both of them, the ache of absence. One letter arrived in a red envelope, different from the rest. I've made a choice. I'm stepping back from the board. I've built towers for years, but they don't hold my heart. You do, if you'll have me. I'm coming back. Not to save, but to stay. This time for good. Amaka read the letter under the mango tree where they once shared pepper tea. She pressed it to her chest, tears mixing with the evening wind. The wind carried his words across the world, and this time it would carry him home. The sky was painted in hues of amber and gold as the workers gathered near the new community hall, a sleek but humble structure built with both modern designs and local soul. Amaka stood at the center, wearing a simple, elegant dress made of blue and gold ankara. Her boots peeked beneath the hem. She wasn't one for losing herself in fashion, even on special days. It had been 3 months since the red envelope. 3 months since his promise. Some doubted he'd come. Some thought he was just another rich man with sweet words and soft exits. But Amaka knew better. The roar of an approaching vehicle silenced the crowd. A single SUV, dusty from the road, stopped in front of the gathering. The door opened, and there he was. Alexander stepped out, not in designer suits, but in a white native kaftan trimmed with gold, his beard neatly trimmed, his eyes fixed only on her. The crowd gasped. Then they cheered. He walked slowly, every step filled with certainty. She met him halfway. "I told you I'd come back," he said. "And I told you I'd still be here," she replied. Without waiting, he pulled a small velvet pouch from his pocket. Inside was a simple ring, carved from stone and gold, made by the very community she'd helped build. He knelt. "Amaka Ibe, builder of homes, healer of hearts, will you build a life with me?" Tears welled in her eyes. She nodded. "Yes, yes, I will." The crowd erupted. Drums sounded. Women danced. Children threw flower petals. From a fall in the sky to the heart of the earth, love had been built, brick by brick, moment by moment. A billionaire had found his purpose. And Amaka? She had found her forever. Together, they built not just structures, but something unshakable.